Good morning. We will call the May 7th, 2024 City Council meeting to order. I'll ask Councilman McKelvey to lead us in our invocation and pledge. If you would, please stand.
Please pray with me. God our Father, we want to show you our gratitude for today and all the many wonderful blessings you have given us here in Jackson, Tennessee. We thank you for all the wonderful people and all the wonderful places that we get to enjoy and share with each other. And God, we ask that you continue to bless this community, that you continue to aid in our growth and to keep us in a community that is healthy, safe, and happy. God, we ask a prayer over all of the city workers. Keep them safe, keep them healthy as they seek to make this city a better place. And God, we ask that you give us opportunities to serve in this capacity as a council, and that you give us the wisdom to make the right decision for our community. We ask that you give us further opportunities to serve and to do so in the spirit of your Son, Jesus. And it's in his name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next item is roll call. Markeisha, I think we see that all council members are present. Item 4 is approval of the minutes of the April 2nd, 2024 council meeting. Those minutes were emailed out to the council. If there are no additions or corrections, they will stand approved as read.
Motion.
They're approved as read. Item 5 is proclamations. We have 2 recognitions today, and first we'll start off with our AmeriCorps National Civilian Community Corps. They will stand and recognize you all there in the back. Our AmeriCorps NCCC is a nationally recognized service program that brings together young adults from diverse backgrounds for a year of full-time, team-based service. As mayor, I'm proud to highlight its impact in our city. NCCC members are ages 18 to 24. They dedicate themselves to addressing critical needs in areas such as disaster relief, environmental conservation, infrastructure improvements, and education. They work alongside local nonprofits, government agencies, and communities, providing vital support in creating lasting change. AmeriCorps NCCC embodies the spirit of civic engagement and empowerment, fostering a generation of leaders committed to service and community development. So over the last month, we've had 6 AmeriCorps NCCC members serving in our community. They're at their last stop in a 10-month tour of service throughout the Southeast. So in their time here, the team has repaired 11 homes in our community, saving residents an estimated $25,000 in labor costs alone. So we want to thank them today for their time, their dedication, their service to our community, and wish them well after their graduation. Everywhere I go, I tell people we have the best fire department, police department, central dispatch in the state, and today is a further testament to their work. So, Chiefs, you want to come up here now, and I'll read off. We got to push y'all up. We had to push it from the back. Now you're pushing up here. Come on, keep on coming up, guys. They're humble too. They don't like the recognition. They deserve this. Make room, make room. So on May 2nd, 2024 at 9:14 a.m., a 911 call was received by the Jackson Central Dispatch reporting a newborn baby that had been delivered in a commode with the umbilical cord wrapped around the baby's neck. The 911 call was received by dispatcher trainee Bridget Barnhart, monitored by communications training officer Desiree Tepp. The call was immediately transferred to Jackson MedLink EMS, while police dispatcher Nikki Pennington and fire dispatcher Reagan Kemper initiated response from both Jackson Police and Jackson Fire. While all units were responding, Jackson MedLink Emergency Medical Dispatch Brandy Reese instructed the 911 caller how to successfully remove the cord from around the infant's neck and perform CPR. Jackson Police Officer Josh Keller was first to arrive on the scene and immediately took over CPR efforts. Jackson's Fire Engine number 12, Captain Andy Gay, driver Paul Billingsley, firefighter John Lee, and firefighter Hayden Towater arrived on scene and assumed care of the baby. Engine 12's crew continued chest compressions and suctioned the baby's nose and mouth and cut the umbilical cord while Battalion Chief Weemon Green coordinated the scene. Green. Medical Center EMS paramedics Nick Wiggins, Maddie Price, Scott Pfeiffer, and AEMT Chris March, Brian Anthony arrived on the scene along with Jackson Fire Division Chief Medic Matt Jones. The paramedics took over and provided advanced medical care of both baby and mother. The newborn baby girl was transported to Jackson-Madison County General Hospital, and because of the efforts of everyone involved, the resuscitation of this newborn was a success. The coordinated efforts of all personnel from multiple agencies represent the highest level of skill and professionalism that takes place daily in the city of Jackson. I'm happy to say that on behalf of the city of Jackson, the citizens of our community, I recognize you with a letter of commendation. Your dedication in providing medical life-saving efforts, excellent patient care, demonstrate your commitment to making Jackson, Tennessee a better place to live, work, and play. Mother and baby are in stable condition, both at Vanderbilt, thanks to these men and women up here in front of you. So thank you. So I want to make sure you know who they are again. Central Dispatch was Bridget Barnhart, trainee of 2 months. Desiree Teff, Communications Training Officer. Nikki Pennington, Dispatcher. Reagan Kemper, Dispatcher. From MedLink, Brandy Reese, Emergency Medical Dispatcher. Jackson Police Officer Josh Keller. Jackson Fire, Captain Andy Gay. Driver Paul Billingsley. Firefighter John Lee. Firefighter Hayden Towater. Battalion Chief Weemon Graham. EMS Division Chief Matt Jones. From Medical Center EMS, Paramedic Nick Wiggins. Paramedic Maddie Price. Paramedic Supervisor Scott Pfeiffer. Advanced EMT Chris March. Advanced EMT Brian Anthony. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for the service you do for us. All right, next up, we have invitation for public comment, and we have several people that are going to public comment. So remind everyone of our procedure. I'll call you up, and for the record, say who you are, your address, and I'll have a timer here, 3 minutes, and when the alarm goes off, your 3 minutes is up, and we will move on to the next person. And so we will start off this morning with Mark Taylor. Yes, sir. Anywhere where a microphone is.
Mark Taylor. I live at 73 McClellan Road, Jackson, Tennessee. My wife is there as well as my 2 children. I have concerns about the rezoning coming up at the edge of McClellan Road and Pleasant Plains. Has been currently residential. It's proposed to be zoned commercial. I live there. I have lots of friends in the area. My parents live in that area. I drive the area daily with my wife, children, friends, family, and I'm still shocked that it's seen to be a possible commercial zone on Oilwell Road. There's plenty of commercial opportunity. We are travel a lot and we see areas like ours, that residential is meant to be residential. It's for a nice area where we can live and operate and be close to our homes without light intrusion, without noise intrusion, without additional traffic. The traffic problem at Pleasant Plains and McClellan is terrible. The infrastructure won't keep up to it, and I have personally, Jill and I have personally reached out to everybody within a mile of where this rezoning is being recommended, and nobody that I know or I have met is for it. That being said, I would like to ask the council to not allow this to happen and keep it residential. Thank you.
Thompson. All right, thank you. All right, next up we have Anthony Myers.
Good morning.
Good
Anthony Myers. I live at 292 Pleasant Plains, about a fourth of a mile on down further past the proposed rezoning, closer to Ashport. I've been there for 18 years, and this morning my drive to here, I went past the proposed rezoning, and the infrastructure to me is extremely horrible. I counted 7 dips in the road, and when I say dips, I mean there were 7 dips. I purposely counted them to make sure that I was right. I have had the city come to my property 3 times in the 18 years, last being a huge, massive dig out of the drainage system that is repaired because we couldn't mow our yard because we would lose a life or lose a leg because we would fall into the hole. I'm grateful that the city did fix it the last time and has repaired it, but it is already sinking again. In the rezoning request, it states that at a time where healthy living and walkable communities are highly desirable, the rezoning would be a step in the right direction. I don't think any of you want to walk on McClellan or Pleasant Plains Road. So I respectfully ask for you to not allow this to happen.
Thank you. Next we have Richard Holland.
My name is Richard Holland. I live at 91 Claiborne Drive. I'm here representing Evergreen Homeowners Association. I'm reminded of a meeting or series of meetings about 13 years ago where Jackson Planning Department was developing the area master plan, and they opened meetings to the public to share what they were thinking. We were shown a map where the planners had identified properties that were designated for future commercial development. This is draft number 4. This plan cannot be developed in a vacuum. You can't decide that Meemaw and Pawpaw's property is a great place for a convenience store, or else where would you go for Thanksgiving dinner? No, fortunately, the properties that were identified were owned or soon to be owned by people who did commercial development. Now, there are some exceptions. The people who live north of the new bank, you know, the big white monstrous bank that's on the corner of Orwell and Pleasant Plains, they have earmarked 11 properties north of that bank as potential commercial development. The people who live in those homes, whether they know that or not, have taken a hit to their property values just at the mention that their house is sitting on property that's been designated as future commercial development. In the course of these public meetings, it was clear that the public had a problem with a couple of what the planning committee had decided should be future commercial properties. One was on the corner of Orwell and Pleasant Plains, where they're now building this bank, and the other was the corner of McClellan and Pleasant Plains, which is the subject of this rezoning. It was clear in the meeting that the public was not buying into the idea that this corner should be the location of a convenience store, bank, or any other kind of commercial building. I feared that the presentation of this master plan would later be used to say, this can happen because it's part of the master plan and needs no further consideration. I'm glad we have this final opportunity to protest. Do we need a new bank across from Fellowship Church? Within a mile of this property, we have the Bank of Jackson, Regions Bank, First Bank, Cadence Bank, First Citizens Bank, West Tennessee Bank, InSouth Bank, Foundation Bank, Commercial Bank and Trust, and First Horizon. And plus, we have 16 credit unions or credit union branches. That's more than enough to get our business done. Also a consideration is the fact that this is one of the busiest corridors in the north side of the county. Traffic now, at some times of the day, moves at a crawl, and it's not just in the school zone.
All right, Mr. Holland, thank you so much. There's 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Steve Sperlin. Yeah, you set it down, we can get the camera to pop up on the screen. Okay, here we go.
Thank you. Good morning. My name's Steve Sperlin. I live at 132 Redfield Drive. I'm the HOA president for Cherry Hill Place neighborhood, which consists of about 140 properties bounded primarily by McClellan and Shadow Ridge. I urge the council to not support the proposed rezoning. Some of the information provided to the Planning Commission indicated traffic volumes being similar to Van Drive. That is a great selling point if you're trying to develop on Van Drive or Thompson Farms, where the roads are designed for commercial development. However, it goes to support the fact that this intersection is already overburdened. Even if a traffic study indicates negligible traffic increase, the problem is going to be the increase in traffic accidents from vehicles turning to enter and exit the retail area, especially along McClellan, a narrow 2-lane road. I want to thank the council members who organized and participated in the March 19th informational meeting. At the meeting, the planning department indicated the property up for discussion, highlighted in orange, was an outlier in the master land use plan, as no one would want to live on the property due to the traffic. Goes to my point. I do want to highlight that there are 10 houses directly across the street on a similar sized parcel circled in purple. I don't think it's the role of the public or the council to ensure a developer who buys a property speculatively to be insured to turn maximum profit. Lastly, I'm concerned that approval of this zoning will be used to support future retail zoning efforts. The adjoining parcel highlighted in blue is farmland, and the current owner is listed as an estate trust. Regardless of what the master land use plan currently reflects and the planning office may convey regarding future use of this property, I think we would be fooling ourselves to not recognize that we'll be in this room in the future discussing rezoning of the adjoining acreage. Nothing is guaranteed. I think we're all adults and recognize that. I don't think we should give ammunition to some future argument for that property to go commercial by approving the current proposal. Again, I urge you to oppose the request. Thank you.
Next up, we have Jill Taylor.
Again, my name is Jill Taylor. I'm a resident at 73 McClellan Road. I've been a huge proponent for Keep Jackson Beautiful for over the last couple of years. Most of you probably have heard me speak one time or another about what more grass means to me over more concrete. So Mark and I, we are supportive of safe places in Jackson. And for our children and for our community, we are business owners here. And we understand the importance of economic growth. But not at the cost of ruining our safe school zones and the beauty of our residential areas. We have plenty of commercial properties around Jackson that are empty and need to be filled first before we build more commercial zones and properties. Please consider everyone here, all of these people who have taken off work and have taken time away from their family to be here. We live in this area. We know this area better than anyone. We drive the streets several times a day. So I would hope that you would respect our wishes and keep the property residential. Thank you.
Next up, we have Hal Curran.
Good morning. My name is Hal Curran. I live at 373 Stornoway Drive in the Winchase subdivision. I've lived there for 7 years. Part of the attraction of this section of Northwest Jackson is what it is. It's residential, it's neighborhoods, single-family homes, churches, and schools. There is no retail establishment in this section of Northwest Jackson. Once you open the door for one commercial property, then the next one becomes easier and easier and easier. Traffic, road conditions. I'm fortunate I'm retired, so I don't worry about a schedule. But coming and going anywhere near the USJ, Sacred Heart in the afternoon, or Fellowship Bible Church on Sunday, you cannot get around that area. I've seen traffic backed up from Pleasant Plains and Oilwell down almost to Fellowship at 8 o'clock in the morning as people have dropped their kids off. It's just going to get worse. You've got a new Pope Elementary School that is going to be much larger than the present Pope Elementary School down at the end of Pleasant Plains. That's just going to bring more traffic. We do not need commercial development in this area, period. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Christina McConnell.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Christina McConnell. I live at 11 Doe Valley Cove, Jackson, Tennessee. I'm before you to urge you against rezoning this property. I am a huge advocate for sustainability, environmental impact, things like that. And one of the biggest downfalls I have seen since moving back to Jackson, I grew up here, I lived out in Beach Bluff, but moving back to Jackson from law school, I have seen so much of our land get bulldozed down and turned into banks, turned into commercial properties, and we have tons and tons of abandoned commercial buildings in Hamilton Hills by the mall, and I know that those areas don't seem appealing to business owners at the moment, but that is part of what we are trying to do is revitalize the city, and in doing that means revitalizing those places and bringing businesses that are desirable to those places. And while I don't live off of Pleasant Plains, my family does, my friends do, we drive it weekly. My husband cycles on that road. It's a big area for road bikers. I'm not sure if any of y'all know that, but it is. And one of the biggest things that we love about that area is it is all residential and a few churches. It's very community driven. You have tons of subdivisions. You have 3 churches in that area, and you have 3 schools, Trinity, USJ, and Sacred Heart. And I know Sacred Heart is about to move, but you're about to have Pope. And with those schools, they're huge schools, it becomes a lot of traffic in the area. And I know a supposed traffic study was done. I don't think anybody has seen it, but despite that, we also don't know what the impact will be of Pope. And I know a big thing that I saw on some Facebook comments is that churches are commercial property. However, I think it is disgusting to compare the two because churches are community properties, and this is one of the few areas where they are actually zoned commercial instead of just a special use property. And I do know that this property was proposed to be rezoned in 2016, and the current mayor was against it. The planning director was against it. So I'm not sure what has actually changed since then, other than our traffic has gotten worse and our road conditions have gotten worse. But I urge you extremely to vote against this rezoning. Thank you.
Next, we have Carla Roach. Y'all are sitting all the way in the back and trying to make an entrance, I guess.
She's a school teacher. She wants to hide. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Carla Roach. I have lived at 94 Wilmington Cove in Cherry Point subdivision for over 25 years. I have seen the traffic. It is a nightmare. But I'm here today with many, many other people to ask you to vote no. No, in my opinion, is the shortest complete sentence in the English language. I told my students that when I was a teacher, and it still rings true. So I'm hoping that you are hearing our concerns and will vote no. Why do we object? The first thing that popped into my mind as a property owner is the value of our properties. When those areas begin to go business, our property values drop, and in turn, it is going to eventually cost the city revenue. Need to keep that in mind. This has been a green space for a while. To avoid any increase in the traffic, maybe it should be left that way. I know that does not make the landowner any money, and that's what this comes down to, is money. We strongly oppose this. I know that is not what the landowner wants to hear, but he doesn't live maybe in that area and probably would not want a business built so close to his home. The traffic is a nightmare. I have driven that road now, as I said, for over 25 years, and I have watched it worsen and worsen. I have seen car accidents at that intersection with injuries, not fender benders, injuries. We don't need that going on in the city of Jackson, and as someone just said, we have 3 schools and 3 churches in this area. That alone is traffic, but it's not just at school start time, school end time, or Sundays. I drive that area, and I know it is all the time. There is just such congestion. Safety is a priority, and that is something to be considered. Mayor Conger, I remember when your grandfather was mayor, and I would drive down Highland, and it was a beautiful street. I lived in Humboldt, would come to Jackson and shop, and I have watched the evolution of North Highland become something that is not the most eye-appealing for the residents in that area or just to drive down that street. I don't want to see that happen to Pleasant Plains. None of us do. So we would like to ask the board here, the council, to please vote no and consider the residents that live in that area. We live there because it is residential, and we would really like to see you keep it that way. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, next, we have Chris Bradford. You just thought you were signing in? Oh, yeah. Did Marty tell you to sign in?
No, I didn't do it this time.
I'm Chris Bradford. I live at 132 McClellan, and I've been there for 8 years, and I wasn't planning on speaking, but just a quick background. My first 3 years of living on McClellan were unexpectedly in a lawsuit with Sacred Heart over water issues and drainage issues that not only involve right there at 132 McClellan, but are continuous down that road. And anytime you go down there when it's rained, there's water over the road. You're driving through water. So that's a pretty good indication the infrastructure's not there to add commercial and settings and box stores or whatever the case is down there. And I know that property, I think close to the time we moved here, was under evaluation for this similar thing, and luckily it didn't come through. I just, again, would just reemphasize, I would hate to see this happen to that area. There are, we know Sacred Heart's moving, but the school zone's right there, guys. I can't even get out of my driveway in the morning. It's supposed to be 15 miles an hour or whatever, but that's not the case. If we want to spend some money on McClellan, we could really use some pothole work instead of worried about infrastructure. Appreciate the time.
All right, thank you. Next up on the list is Doc Couples.
I'm Dot Couples, live at 97 Stonehenge in Cherry Hill. Been there over 30 years. When I moved out there was nothing. I thought, oh me, I wish Kroger would come, so I wouldn't have to come all the way back into town. Well, Kroger came and so did everything else. So we're not equipped with infrastructure to do anything commercial. We are a single-family, home-oriented facility, community. We have schools, we have churches. That's all we want. That's all we need. That's all our infrastructure can handle. We're going to get Pope, and that's long overdue. I'm glad that we're getting Pope. But the traffic that's going to incur, we're not equipped to handle it. We're not equipped to handle the traffic that we currently have, let alone anymore. We're less than 2 miles away from anything we need in the way of grocery stores, doctors, dentists, banks, heaven forbid, anything else. So we don't need anything on that corner except some green space to give us some air. Don't close us in anymore, please. Please don't. Vote against it. Thank you.
All right, next up is Carol Dix. Scoot out. That's not a microphone. Yeah, that's a microphone. Looks like one, but it's not.
Looks like one, but didn't work with it. Good morning, I'm Carol Dix. I live at 77 Hillside Landing. I'm a resident in the Traditions neighborhood on Pleasant Plains, a neighborhood area of town. We do not need an office zone in our neighborhood area. There's already ample space with business zoning just over a mile away on Orwell Road. There are already more banks between the bypass and Pleasant Plains than we can fill with money. I'm asking the council to vote no, please, to rezoning this property. There's already extra traffic in this area at school times and at church meetings. There will be more school bus traffic when we welcome the new Pope School opening. We shouldn't consider bringing more congestion with business traffic into this area. This is a neighborhood area where families live. It is already zoned appropriately for a family home. Please say yes to preserving the neighborhood. Keep it as it is. Council members, please vote no for rezoning. Thank you.
Now we're getting to the bottom of the list and they're scrunched up a little bit, so forgive me if I mispronounce the name. Owen Guapmi?
Morning.
Morning.
I'd like to show you Steve Sperlin's plat diagram here. Did I set it down this way?
Yep, and we'll get it. There we go.
And good morning. I'm Owen Guafme. I live at 126 Stonehenge in North Jackson, and I again join in all the comments that have made prior to this point in opposition to this rezoning measure. And I bring you back to Steve's diagram here to point out, I won't repeat everything everybody else has said. I think you've got the point about that. There's two technical issues with respect to that intersection of McClellan and Pleasant Plains. The first is the rights-of-way, how narrow they are between the property and the roadways. And that's important. If you ever plan to improve that intersection, you're going to be hamstrung by the width of the rights-of-way, of how many lanes you can add for left turns and the like. And you can see that in the diagram. If you'll study it a little more closely, I won't point it out. But the other technical issue has to do with where the corners of this property are along the roadways. Look at this corner right here and this corner right here. The two corners that are on McClellan and Pleasant Plains that are too close to the intersection for ingress and egress of traffic trying to enter any businesses that are being conducted there. We're talking not just customers, but also maybe delivery vehicles, trucks and the like, trying to get in and out of the property. Too close to the intersection it would run interference with traffic that's backed up to turn left or backed up at the stoplight, won't be able to get in and out. It's just make another malfunction junction, if you will. And we know about a few of those already around town. So I'll just leave you with those considerations on from a technical standpoint. I think they're gonna be hard for y'all to fix that to accommodate businesses, especially if we get involved with developing this whole area in green, the larger 37-acre parcel later on as commercial also. So think about that as you consider your decision on this measure. Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you. Last up is Mark Thompson.
Good morning. Mark Thompson, I live at 124 McClellan Road. I've been here since, I've been living there since February '96, 28 years. And since that time, we have had 3 schools, 3 churches, now a new Pope school coming down the road, and we have a new bank, all within a 1.5 mile radius of my house. Little background on this corner property. It's a public record. It was sold in '95 for $10,000. In 2007, it was sold for $100,000. 2011, $84,000. It has appraised value of $209,000 right now. We certainly do not need any more commercial development in this area. You know, the way lots are selling right now, you could probably sell the lots and recoup his money, you know, get 3 lots out of it easily for residential. But appreciate your vote of no on this rezoning request. Thank you.
All right, that concludes our public comment section. Now we move on to first reading. There's Bobby. Item 1 is proposed budget amendment, Metro Drug Fund, the amount of $33,841.44.
Good morning. Back in 2023, the Jackson Police Department, Madison County Sheriff's Department, who were custodians of the Metro Drug Fund at that particular time, entered into an agreement to include the Police Department, Sheriff's Department, and the Attorney General's office to transition the Metro Drug Fund from what has been historically city-county to a judicial district-wide Metro Drug Fund that would be administered by the Attorney General's office. At that particular time, with those agreements, some seed money, if you will, from the existing Metro Drug Fund was given to the new judicial district-wide drug fund. A part of that agreement was that subsequent to that, at the end of each audit year, the net assets that remained in the old Metro Drug Fund would kind of be evaluated, and there would be an agreement reached to share those between the Jackson Police Department and the Madison County Sheriff's Department. This proposed amendment today would approve the disbursements of those funds from the Metro Drug Fund to the Police Department and the Sheriff's Department, consistent with that agreement. So.
Any questions from council?
So moved.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
All right, item 2 is proposed budget amendment, insurance recovery, JPD, in the amount of $23,114.98.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from council? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Item 3 is proposed budget amendment, insurance recovery for JPD, in the amount of $33,247. Motion.
So moved.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Item 4 is proposed budget amendment, insurance recovery for Jackson Fire Department, in the amount of $15,401.94.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 8-1 abstain.
No.
Motion passed 9-0.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Come on up, get comfortable. Item 5 is consideration of an ordinance to rezone property located at 10 McClellan Road from RS1 Single Family District to OC Office Center District comprising of 2.96 acres more or less.
Motion. I'll make a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion from council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
this is the McClellan, correct?
Yes.
I would like to add, for the record, 47 emails opposed, 7 emails for. We have 11 against, so I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that, Secretary.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
among all the comments today, we've heard about the traffic, and Stan, in your expert opinion, our infrastructure through that specific area, is it capable of supporting the amount of traffic it has? Should we be looking into any modifications or additions there?
Well, that's something that will be evaluated. And now we're just going through the rezoning part. So this is very preliminary in terms of site review and site development. But they will be required to submit a traffic study at the time, or a traffic analysis. And if there's any improvements that are warranted through that, then they'll be required to put those in. But that will come during the site approval process.
All right, any further discussion from
Yeah,
council?
yes, I have a series of questions. Mr. Pallant, one of the residents that talked to us said that in 2016, I believe is what he or she said, that this was rejected by the planning department, and now it's recommended by the planning department. And she asked what changed. So that's my question. What changed? First of all, is that true, that it was rejected previously?
Well, that was 7 or 8 years ago, so I'll try to remember exactly what happened. This has come through at least 2 times before, and both times it was rejected. I don't remember the exact details of whether or not the land use plan was changed as a part of the master plan when it came through, or whether it was changed at some point when the planning commission recommended it, but the council turned it down. But all I know is, presently the planning commission is recommending rezoning of this property.
Okay, in the past, the planning commission recommended it or did not recommend it?
I'd have to go back and look at the details of that. It's been quite a while. All I can tell you is, with any situation, conditions can change and positions can change. But what I can tell you now is the land use plan shows it appropriate for office, and the planning commission is recommending approval of it.
Okay. The traffic study, I went back to the planning department's minutes when this was passed back in November, and it said that there was a brief discussion regarding the traffic study that will be required. The traffic study has been made.
The traffic study is required when they go through the site approval process, so they haven't done that, because if the zoning doesn't go forward, then there's no reason to do a traffic study.
All right, and it also talked about a final development plan is submitted. Has that been done?
That's what happens during the site development review.
All right.
And again, that comes after the zoning. If the zoning doesn't occur, then it doesn't go to site development.
Okay. One of the other residents also said that if the zone commercial and commercial start getting in there, that it will decrease their property value. And I'm not an appraiser, I don't know anything about that, but as a planner, is that true?
Well, I'm not an appraiser either, but I have friends that are, and basically they tell me that property values are based on comparable sales. In other words, if you have a home, they look at homes that are similar in size, similar situations, and they base values based on those comparable sales. In my experience, and again, I'm not an appraiser either, commercial property is not valued in terms, they don't look at residential as comparables, nor do residential look at commercial value as comparables. So it always comes up in rezonings, and I understand that there are factors that can influence property values, but whether or not this development would change property values, again, I can't say because I'm not an appraiser, but it's been my experience that it's all based on comparable sales.
They've also said a lot of things about the traffic being increased Based upon the way the property is right now, if this were rezoned and traffic does increase, the city would have to come in and put more infrastructure. Is that correct or not?
No, that's why we require a traffic study. Basically, we ask developments to mitigate the impacts of their development. In other words, when the traffic study is done, they look at the land uses that are proposed for the property. They use a trip generation manual to determine how many trips will be generated by that development. And then they weigh that against the infrastructure that's there and the capacity for that infrastructure to support that. If there's a lack of infrastructure, if there's needed improvements to support the development so that they can mitigate what they're causing by their development, then the developer's responsible for those improvements.
All right. And my last question is this. As a layman, it seems to me that a traffic study would be done before before the property is rezoned. It seems like the cart is before the horse. Tell me why I'm wrong on that.
Because until the rezoning takes place, that use isn't even it doesn't mean anything. It's just a proposal. It's like a concept. And at that time, we don't require traffic studies because we don't even know if the development's going to be approved in terms of this rezoning. So that's not the way it works, at least in the planning process. Now, if it's zoned and they go forward in the process, then all those things will be looked at, and they'll be required to mitigate traffic. They'll be required to mitigate their storm drainage. And so all those factors come into play once it's approved for rezoning.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Councilman Lowery.
I just want to repeat, he took my question away. But my question is, another question is, how much does a traffic study cost them?
It varies. You know, there's varying degrees of traffic study based on the circumstance. I'm not sure what the cost of those are, but they could be, you know, it could be $10,000.
Okay. So we don't know what would come in, so obviously you can't make the study based on that. But you could make the study on based where are we right now? How's it handling the traffic? Are there any problems? So I'm just like Councilman Donnell. I'd like to see this before, not after.
Well, you know, with traffic, there's a lot of things that are looked at. One is peak traffic and those peak hours of traffic. They're the times that everybody's trying to go to work and everybody's trying to come home. Those are the times when you experience the backups and the delays. And what a traffic study does with background traffic, it looks at a level of service, and that's based on traffic not only in the peaks, but also as it carries throughout the day. So I think you're always going to have, you know, delays at the peak times with schools and around schools, around churches when they let out on Sunday, on Sunday morning at the end of the service. So you know, those factors all come into play once you look at a development and once you look at its impact. But as to background traffic and the need for that, you know, normally you're designing your infrastructure to support the traffic that will be there in the future, and also the delays in the service level of service that's being experienced, you know, on a daily basis. So, could you look at that? Yes, you could look at that infrastructure, and you could look at what's out there now. You know, and that's what we did with Pope. We have a traffic study that said, okay, here's the existing background traffic, and here's what a school is going to do. So it's usually when you have a development in hand that you look at its impact.
Let me get done with the answer.
Are you finished?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I call previous question.
All right, we have a call for questions. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All right, we are voting on the call for questions now. That's what we're voting on, the call for questions. Council, please vote.
The vote is on previous question.
On the call for questions.
Cutting off debate.
That's what we're voting on.
To end debate.
To end the questions. That's what we're voting on right now. Okay.
We have 8 to 1 no.
All right. Thank you, council. Now we're back on the original motion and second for the rezoning of the property. And so, council, please vote.
You need any more?
No, it was 8-1.
Yeah, cause it failed 8-1, right? Yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thanks, Dan. All right, move on to second reading. All right, yeah, second reading. Item 1 is proposed budget amendment, capital outlay fund, reallocation of budgeted
Why
funds.
y'all leaving?
Yeah, come on. Getting into fun stuff.
We have 2 more pages.
Yeah,
Should put them last.
these tax dollars at work.
Item 1 is proposed budget amendment, capital outlay fund, reallocation of budgeted funds, Sportsplex cameras, amount of $120,000.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Item 2, proposed budget amendment, capital outlay fund, reallocation of budgeted funds, groundskeeping truck, $25,000.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Item 3 is proposed budget amendment, general fund insurance recovery, JPD, in the amount of $20,501.77.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion, second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Item 4, proposed budget amendment, general fund insurance recovery, civic center, in the amount of $16,663.25.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Item 5, proposed budget amendment, general fund insurance recovery, wind damage, the amount of $29,749.03.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Item 6, consideration of an ordinance to amend the text of the official code of the City of Jackson, Title 12, Building, Utility, etc., Codes, Chapter 10, Energy Conservation Code.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Item 7 is consideration of an ordinance to amend the text of the official code of the City of Jackson, Title 2, Chapter 5, Vacant Property Review Commission and Acquisition of Vacant Properties.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Item 8 is consideration of an ordinance to amend the text of the official code of the City of Jackson, Title 8, Chapter 2, Caterer's Permit.
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Item 9 is consideration of an ordinance to amend the text of the official code of the City of Jackson, Title 9, Business, Peddlers, Solicitors, etc., Chapter 1, Peddlers, Solicitors, etc.
So moved.
And a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Item 10, consideration of an ordinance to amend the text of the official code of the City of Jackson, Title 9, Business, Peddlers, Solicitors, etc., Chapter 2, Pawnbrokers.
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
All right, move on to new business. Item 1 is consideration of a project development agreement for the Jackson Downtown Triangle Hotel Project. Yeah, Nick, you go ahead and.
Sure. This involves the property, down here between West Lafayette Street and West Main Street, the kind of triangular shaped area. It's part green space, it's part the, former railroad right-of-way. It's owned by the city. The Community Redevelopment Agency was asked about 2 years ago to put out a request for proposal to develop the property. The only proposal that was received was from Jackson Hospitality LLC to develop a hotel on the property. 100 to 140 room, 8-story hotel with project costs of about $22 to $27 million. That proposal was accepted by the CRA and also accepted and approved by the City Council. This is a project development agreement for development of the project. Under the agreement, the property would be conveyed to the Community Redevelopment Agency, and the developer would then be conveyed to the developer from the CRA, or it would go through the JDRC for pilot lease, payment and limit of taxes. Either way, the developer would pay a project fee of 1% of the total cost of development, and there would be covenants and restrictions on the property, dealing with the use, maintenance, transferability, and making sure that they've got a qualified hotel operator running the hotel.
All right. Any questions from council?
And now, the owner of the property, once this project is completed, who's the owner of the hotel?
It'll be the developer.
Has the developer been selected yet?
It's Jackson Hospitality LLC, the entity that submitted the proposal.
All right, thank you.
So what are they getting? What is the city or the organizations giving to the developer,
They are getting the land.
which is valued at?
We have an appraisal at $315,000.
Are they,
We have second. Do a motion, we have a second. All right. You got another question? Go ahead.
no, this is,
No more? All right, any further discussion? from
Yeah, I
council?
do, really.
Okay.
Other than the fact that the city of Jackson would have a beautiful hotel, what other benefit is it for the city?
Revenue.
Downtown development.
And you said it's 8 stories?
I believe that's what they've said.
Is that about as high as the New Southern Hotel, or is that shorter than that, about that height?
approximately.
Close.
All right, thank you.
Well, I got another one too. Any other tax release for the developers?
Other than possibly if they apply through the JDRC for payment in lieu of taxes. Other than that, I'm not aware of anything else.
Does that have to be approved by the council?
It does not.
So that property could go and we could get no income from it?
That would last for approximately 10 years.
Basically what we're getting now. But now you cut it.
And to your knowledge,
Basically, property tax revenue. It would,
Yeah,
you know,
probably
they
would still
would,
get
they
sales
would.
tax, still get hotel,
yeah.
motel tax, it would still generate revenue.
But one thing that it probably will do will encourage other development.
Yeah, well, right now, that piece of property is all expense, no revenue for us. We pay our employees to maintain the property.
Yeah. I have a question. First of all, I apologize, Stan, I wasn't trying to cut you off a minute ago.
You're all right.
I'm married.
My question is, where is, on this, because it's not a very large spot, where is parking? Does it have on-site parking, things of that nature?
Yes, sir. The plans that I've seen is that they plan on having parking underneath the hotel. And again, there'll be some additional parking on the street that'll be in that area, but they will provide their own parking on site.
And if everything went according to the way that everybody wants it to go, when would ground breaking be approximately?
Next year, they start they want to start construction as we're working on airways, so it's too disruptive at two different times.
So what did you say? I didn't.
They want to start
Julie was
construction
coughing.
when we start on airways, so it'll be next year, early next year.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Item 2's review of revised preliminary development plan and house elevations for Bancroft Place subdivision, formerly Jade Estates.
All right, so you have in your packet materials pertinent to this revised preliminary plan. Now, normally you don't get to see these, well, you see them initially when they go through the zoning, but you normally aren't involved when we revise a schematic with a subdivision. But PRD is a little bit different in that PRD is the planned residential development. The development plan is a part of the rezoning when it goes forward. So if that development plan changes in a more than a minor way, then we bring it back to the Planning Commission and also to the City Council because of the agencies that approve them. So that's what you have today. Originally, Jade Estates had proposed 24 duplex units, and now they're proposing 40 single-family units. So because the unit count went up a little bit, we're bringing it back to you. They're proposing townhome type development. It is adjacent to a power line to the north, so PRD is the reason why it's zoned that way, is because of the limited land that's available there, because of the easement that's associated with the power line. But again, I think this development plan is better than the one we had before. because it does maintain the single-family nature of the property, and the planning commission has recommending it to you.
All right. Any questions from council? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion is second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Thank you, Mayor and
All right,
council.
thanks, Stan. Item 3 is a consideration of a resolution for the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation Recreational Trails Grant Proposal.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. The packet that you have details the grant that we will be applying for from Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. It's the Recreation and Trails Program Grant. Today, what we are voting on is a resolution to support the match for that grant. So that grant max is $490,000. Our match of that will be 20% plus any overages. Right now, our estimated opinion of cost puts the city being responsible for about $110,000. This will not come into play until FY26, but we have to have your support to submit the application.
Done with the project. Just remind them what the project is.
Yes, this will cover 1,300 linear feet of the boardwalk at Cypress. Right now, we are leaning toward focusing on the Jewel Weed Trail that is currently closed. It will be composite decking, so it will be more sustainable than wood. And this ideally will be a phased project. As more funding becomes available, we will continue to apply to do the entire boardwalk at Cypress.
All right, any questions from council?
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
Just want to say, Christie, thank you for seeking solutions to provide cost-effective enhancements to Cypress Grove and all the other many city parks that we're working on making better for the community. That said, I motion that we approve.
Second.
A motion, bunch
And I
of
also want
bunch
to
of
say
seconds.
Thank you so much. The publicity's been great. We
Absolutely.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. Any further discussion from council? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
All right, thank you. Item 4 is a consideration of a resolution to approve the columns 3 TIF, Tax Increment Finance District.
So moved.
And a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Item 5 is consideration of a contract with Superior Lawn Maintenance for JTA landscaping and ground maintenance.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Item 6, consideration of a guaranteed maximum price budget for the men's homeless shelter.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, I need just a little, you go.
You go, okay, yeah.
Talk about what that is, and, so the people would know.
Yeah, Zach? Carrie? Hiding back there in the back.
Who's back there?
I'll let the expert come up here.
Carrie, what'd you think about Pajama Party the other night? Pajama Party?
I love it.
That was good, huh?
Okay.
What's the question?
Yeah, just explain what this is.
Okay, it's a homeless shelter, for men. It will house up to 89 individuals. I believe we have 17 suites. We'll have 2 bunk areas that, can house multiple people. Prisoner building frame. The exterior veneer will be a combination of masonry and siding, hardy board siding with a metal roof.
And where is it located?
It's located on McCory Street off of, what's it?
Airways.
Airways.
All right. Councilman?
I'm gonna vote for this, but I've got some severe reservations about it. This is one of the things, it's a great idea, a much-needed thing, and the federal government gets involved and helps jack the cost up. I'm not blaming all this cost on the federal government, but I wanna tell you, I appreciate the effort that Henson Construction, Zach, in trying to get more contractors to bid, and also the architect to redesign this to try to make it fit in. 3 times, every time. So thank you for that, but let's go a little history. When this was first presented, it was divided out to be about $317,000 per bed. Obviously, that wouldn't work. And that's why I went back to all these designs. They've worked it out now to where I think there's 89. For $3.4 million, we're gonna get 89 beds. In reality, this 89 beds are a little bit overstated. I think everybody agrees that the operation of a homeless shelter with 48 men in one room, and I believe that's what this has now, is not feasible. So where structurally it would handle 89, in reality, it's probably not gonna be that, and I think everybody's agreed to that. So I don't know, it's a problem, we've got to address it, but this is where it's not a wise use of our tax money. So let's vote it down, and then we lose it. And there's some town out there that's gonna take it. So I guess I'm asking you, talk to your congressman and let's address this nationally here. Because, but seriously, we're still talking about, gosh, pick your number, $100,000, $90,000 per bed. You know, it's mind-boggling.
All right, any further discussion from council? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
May I make one other comment? This is $500 a square foot, just in case any of you out there building. Is that roughly?
Item,
Thank you.
Okay, corrected, 430, thank you.
thanks, Gary. Item 7 is consideration of a contract with TLM for facility renovations and improvements at the JTA transfer.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Zach. Item 8 is consideration of updated bylaws from Keep Jackson Beautiful Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Item 9, consideration of committee and board appointments. Keep Jackson Beautiful, reappointment of Dr. Kane Reeves, Mabel Teamer, Georgianne Wright, and Pat Hamlet.
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Recreation and Parks Advisory Board, reappointment of Amy Jones.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
JTA Board, reappointment of Dwayne Cherry and Lavelle Hayes.
So moved.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
JEA Board of Directors, reappointment of Bill Kipp.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Jackson Madison County Library Board of Trustees, reappointment of Greg Parsons and Courtney Simmons.
So moved.
Have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Vacant Property Review Commission, appointment of Charles Adams, Abby Allen, Charlie Garrett, Diane Kelly, and Lisa Peoples.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, would you please explain what's the function of this review commission?
So, Teresa, you come make a better explanation than I can, because I'm just gonna say, review property.
You'll like it.
Yeah, Teresa would be much more,
And let me say one thing about that. I asked some of these questions because of the fact that although we know what's going on, the public does not know. And the public is looking on television and they're here now, and they deserve to know what's going on as well. So that's why I asked what this is about so that they will be informed.
The Vacant Property Review Commission has been in our code for, 35 years. We have not had a commission appointed for 34 of those years. Okay. So the code committee asked that the council appoint people to this commission. The main goal of this commission, their main job would be to be the hands and feet of the council, locating vacant property that needs to be presented as eminent domain for the city to take it over, resell it for public or private use.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
all right, thank you, Councilman. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
All right, item 10 is correction of Councilman Richard Donnell's appointment to the Health, Education, and Housing Board from regular board member to liaison from the City Council.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Item 11, budget amendments less than 10,000. Item 12, consideration of invoices over 10,000.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
And second. Any further discussion? Council, please vote.
Motion passed 9-0.
Being no further business before the council, the meeting is adjourned.
We're gonna start there.